Nvidia's stock price has more than doubled year to date in 2024. However, following its stock split, the company's stock price has faced some headwinds. The company is scheduled to report quarterly earnings results on August 28th after the markets close, so investors are curious, should they buy Nvidia stock before it announces earnings? I'll answer that question in this video. I'll let investors know what they should look for from Nvidia coming out from its quarterly earnings release. So let's take a look at those, and let's take a look at my answer for if investors should buy Nvidia stock.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
Alright, so as I highlighted earlier, Nvidia's stock price has more than doubled year to date in 2024, rising from around $50 per share to start the year up to $115 per share as of this recording. Of course, that makes me happy because I've placed Nvidia stock on my list of one of my top stocks to buy here in 2024. I've had it on this list all year long since December 29th of last year when I made that video of my top stocks to buy for 2024. In its latest quarterly release, Nvidia reported revenue of $26.044 billion, and that was up 262% year over year. Phenomenal growth for Nvidia in the latest quarter. Its gross profit margin also increased to 78.4%, up from 76% in the previous quarter and 64.6% in the same quarter the prior year. That's what made Nvidia's performance so exceptional, is not only revenue growing by hundreds of percentage points, but also profits and cash flow are growing along the lines of revenue growth. Other companies in the AI sector have demonstrated growth of similar magnitude, perhaps, but not with the similar profit and cash flow expansion. Nvidia is one of the rare companies right now that's demonstrating this level of top and bottom line growth. As you'll notice, net income jumped to $14.881 billion in the latest quarter. That was up by over 628% from the same quarter last year. Now, driving this growth for Nvidia is the data center, the AI data center. Revenue from this segment jumped to $22.56 billion. That was up from just $4.24 billion in the same quarter last year. The AI data center build out is coming from large hyperscaler companies like Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, which have all announced tens of billions of dollars in investments in building out AI data centers. And in their latest quarterly earnings releases, those companies I highlighted earlier all mentioned that they are likely to continue spending tens of billions of dollars going forward for at least the next couple of years. That's great news for Nvidia and Nvidia stock investors, because you can see how that's resulting in soaring revenue as the company's AI accelerator GPUs facilitate the growth in that market. That's why those companies that I mentioned earlier, the hyperscalers, are investing in upgrading their data centers, is because they're noticing a huge improvement in innovation in Nvidia's GPUs. That's driving the development of AI data centers. That along the lines with the large language models that are creating a use case for artificial intelligence that these hyperscalers cannot turn away, because their customers are coming to them and saying they want to buy these services, these large language models, these business services that are enhanced with AI. And so the market is just growing and growing and growing, and this growth is expected to continue throughout the next several years at the very least, driving huge improvements in effectiveness, productivity, and cost savings. Nvidia is saying that these increases reflect higher shipments of the Nvidia Hopper GPU computing platform, which is used for training and inferencing with large language models, recommendation engines, and generative AI applications. Now, the Hopper GPU platform is its current generation platform. Nvidia announced its next generation platform, the Blackwell technology, that is expected to come out later this year. but there are some rumors that it might be delayed by several months. That's a key item that Nvidia stock investors should pay close attention to when Nvidia announces their quarterly earnings on August 28th. You want to look out for that technology and the shipments. Is it on schedule? Is there any delays? Is there anything that investors should be concerned about regarding the Blackwell technology? And then the generation after that, they already announced the generation after Blackwell, which is the Rubin technology that's coming out at the end of next year. Nvidia told investors that they're going to come out with innovation roughly every 1 year. So if the Blackwell technology is delayed and there's difficulty in that rollout, does that put a question mark on that 1 year rollout schedule? Was that perhaps too ambitious? Those are some questions that Nvidia is going to have to answer in the upcoming earnings release, and when Nvidia CEO and Nvidia management faces questions from Wall Street analysts in the conference call that typically follows an earnings release. Nvidia is forecasting $28 billion in revenue when they report their quarterly earnings release, and gross margins of between 74.8% and 75.5%. Now, if the company does indeed deliver revenue of $28 billion, that would be an increase from the same quarter last year when they delivered $13.5 billion in revenue. And gross profit margins of 70% are expected to increase to 75%. Now, interestingly, in the same quarter last year that they reported on in their Q2 2024, their revenue was up 101%, and they're now forecasting revenue to grow from $13.5 billion to $28 billion. So another 100% increase in revenue. Not only did they increase revenue 100% last year, another 100% now. So double and then double again, just to give you a picture of how quickly Nvidia's sales are rising, and they're rising with lucrative profit margins. Last year, their gross profit margin was 70%. In the second quarter this year, they're forecasting gross profit margin above 75%, so even more profitable than they were last year. This is why Nvidia's stock price is performing the way it is. The company's delivering tangible evidence of success. This isn't driven by hype. This isn't driven by enthusiasm. This isn't driven by promises of something 5 years in the future. This is driven by tangible growth in revenue, profits, and cash flow right now. Every quarter, the company delivering better and better results. So even with Nvidia's phenomenal increase in stock price, it's still not expensive when measured on a forward price to earnings ratio, because the company's delivering on those price increases through fundamental improvements in business. Like I shared with you, growth in revenue, growth in profits, growth in cash flow. So with the increase in stock price, you're not paying a higher valuation because you're getting more as an investor. The company is giving you more profits, more revenue, more cash flow. And so Nvidia stock investors are still paying a reasonable valuation, a forward PE of 30.59 for Nvidia stock. So to answer the question, should investors buy Nvidia stock before it announces earnings or after, or should they not buy Nvidia stock at all? I would say Nvidia stock is a buy. Now, whether or not you buy it before or after earnings, it seems like an equal weighted risk to me. Nvidia stock could jump meaningfully following the earnings release if the company gives a reiteration that its technology will continue on that 1 year cadence, that the Blackwell's on pace to come out later this year and everything is going according to plan. Then Nvidia's stock price could jump following the earnings release. Also, Nvidia's stock price could fall meaningfully if there is any indication of a slowdown for Nvidia's performance, because the stock price has already performed so well and the expectations are already so high for Nvidia. So if you want to lower your risk, if you're thinking about investing $500 in Nvidia stock, you could split that up into two $250 increments, buy $250 before earnings and buy $250 after earnings. If I was planning to buy Nvidia stock around this earnings release, that's how I would do it. I would do half and half, do half before earnings and half after earnings. That way I split my risk in two. I split my risk of downside by saving some of my investment for after the earnings release, and I reduce my risk of missing out by doing half of my investment before earnings. So that would be my advice for those interested in Nvidia stock around earnings. If you liked the video you just saw and you want to see more just like it, please subscribe to the channel. I can't keep this channel free without the support of viewers like you. And if you're already subscribed, thank you, and I appreciate your support.